Here we're going to talk about doing a review of a data room for the purpose of mineral resources due diligence. So usually at the beginning of a DD effort, there's a data room is provided. It's online or maybe just a external drive with a bunch of files in it. The problem is that there's oftentimes just an enormous amount of information in there. Not all of it is relevant to mineral resources. So the exercise really is to get into that data room, understand what's in there, pull out what's relevant, and raise the alarm if the contents are insufficient. So in a perfect world, if the contents of the data room are small enough, the idea is to go into every file and open up every document, understand what it is, and make a note of whether or not it's relevant and proceed forward. But oftentimes that task is overwhelming because these file folders have several levels of embedded folders and just so many documents that it would just take far too long to do. So my general rule of thumb is I'll spend half a day looking at what's in a data room, and if it's small enough, I'll look at every file document in there. But if not, then I'll apply my judgment to skip certain parts of the data room. So yeah, that's the idea. Half a day or less to do this exercise. So what we're really looking for, the relevant documents we want. The first type is there's several types, and the first type are technical reports. So and by that I mean economic studies like feasibility studies, perhaps a standalone mineral resource report, and mineralogy reports and metallurgical reports. So when it comes to reports, those are the kinds of reports that we want to extract. Next thing we're looking for are maps, so geologic maps, geophysical maps, etc. Maps of the property boundary for the particular property of interest. These oftentimes are embedded in PowerPoint presentations or slide presentations, so those are a good source of maps, I find, but also sometimes they're just standalone files on their own. So drill hole data, that's another important category. What we're looking for is usually a series of files like I'm demonstrating here. You'll find collar files and assay files, lithology, etc. And we usually want those in some kind of what I'm calling a neutral format, a format that I can import into any software package. We're definitely not looking for file formats that are specific to, say, a particular mineral resource modeling software. The one thing that I prefer, sometimes drill hole data will come as interval tables, where you have columns that define what hole a certain sample is taken from and give you the from and to depths of each of those intervals. And that's my preferred format. However, sometimes you'll see what's called a desurveyed format, where the sample locations are given as coordinates, so the X, Y, Z. And I can work with those, but I prefer to get the interval tables. We're also looking for block models, so we want the model file as well as a description of that model file. something that'll tell me what the block model framework is, but also let me know what the elements in each block are, whether it be grade or density, etc. Again, we want these in these files need to be in neutral format, the block model files anyway. A text or CSV format is preferred. Again, we don't want anything that's specific to a certain software package. Wireframes, we want these, there's several types of wireframes that we're interested in. They could be, so these are 3D solids of geologic interpretations or grade domains. Sometimes there are resource constraints, solids or wireframes that'll perhaps define a pit that limits the resource used for reporting, or something of that nature. Anything that you would need to understand how the resource is constrained. And also, if it's a more advanced project, there might be actual mine designs in wireframe format that would be useful to have. The file format here is also important. Well, I've not listed it. We want these things to be in really CAD formats such as DXF or DWG. Again, we want to avoid formats that are specific to a certain software. Okay, so those are the four main types of information we're looking for. During the exercise, there are certain things to watch out for. I mean, we've talked about this second bullet point of file formats quite a bit, so keep an eye on that. But also, there's certain minimum requirements. If we don't have, if the data room doesn't have, at the least, a technical report, drill hole data, wireframes, and a block model, all in acceptable format, then we need to raise an alarm and try and work with whomever controls that data room to get the information that we want. Also, let's be mindful of versions. So you might have multiple versions of a drill hole database or block model, technical report, etc. If that's the case, we'll raise an alarm and try and get some confidence as to which version of these files is the one that needs to be included in the due diligence exercise. So after reviewing the data, the last thing that needs to be done is all of the relevant files need to be extracted from that data room and put in a single place. And so they could be on a stick or on a Dropbox or what have you, so that that ends up being the place where we can easily find all of the relevant information without having to navigate sometimes a poorly organized data room. Okay, so that is how to do a data room review, where we explore a data room, understand what's in it, and extract what is relevant to the due diligence with respect to mineral resources.